Hi everyone, this is UCaaS Product Manager Ross Hubble coming to you from Sangoma. And today I'm going to take you on a little tutorial in the CommUnity myHUD client. So first we begin at our authentication page, which I will put in my email address and password, and I'll sign in. Now you may also notice that we do support other directory services as well as Okta and Microsoft AD. I'm not using those today, so I'm just going to sign in with my email and password. Once I am authenticated, I am taken directly to my CommUnity dashboard. So the CommUnity dashboard is a great feature because it allows me to take things that I am interested in, such as some reports that I have created, some license usage, the user quantity in the system, and I can pin those things into a dashboard. So every time I log in, those are presented directly to me. And if I select any of these reports, I can then of course drill down into more granular detail on this system. Next, we'll take a look at organization. What do I have under my organizational settings capability? So organization lets me do things like manage my users, manage my sites, manage departments, and then manage groups. So within my organization, first we'll go to users. This is where I would view and build out new users on the phone system. So here you will see I can view these in tile view or also list view as well. You'll see the list of people that are already built into my system. If I want to create a new user, I merely click create and then I fill in the pertinent things about that user. Next, we'll take a look at sites. Sites allow me to compartmentalize different locations or different organizations within the overall customer tenant. Very good for distributed enterprise customers. Maybe you have multiple locations. I can reflect those multiple locations here within an individual site. And again, just like with users, I see a card view or I can see a list view of my individual sites. You'll see here we have the Lake Elsinore office, the Hubble office site, and then the Plano office. To create a new site, I simply go to create and fill out the pertinent information about that site. Once we have established users and sites, we can do things with departments. Departments allow me to build kind of groups that are users that may exist between different sites that would be abstracted based on the site, but allows me to blend those people together and create things like page groups and parking lots for these groups of users. Very handy feature for when you're trying to bridge users together between sites. Very helpful. I also have individual ring groups. So you'll see here we have some ring groups that are created and what their extension are. And this is just how you create your basic ring groups. To create a new group, I merely select create. You can probably see a common theme across these settings, and then I would go in and fill out pertinent things about that ring group. Next, we'll go over to configuration. So configuration on the system facilitates things like devices, extensions, telephone numbers, conference bridges, user feature licenses, as well as roles and permissions. First, we'll take a look at devices. Devices basically gives me a list of all the physical telephones or physical endpoints that exist on the platform, what that model is, what its MAC address is, and what user it is assigned to, as well as if you're a hot desk user, you see that as well. To create additional devices, I merely go create and fill out pertinent information about that device and associate it with a user. Very simple. Next, we have extensions. So extensions allow me to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 digit extension associated with a user on the system. Now, one of the great things about CommUnity is I'm not bound to a numbering plan. I don't have to select only 4-digit extensions or only 6-digit extensions. I can be as granular as I want. You'll see here I have 1, 2, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4-digit extensions on the system. And one of the other great things is I can change extensions. So if an extension is directly associated with a user, I can change it. If Ross doesn't want to be extension 1, 2, 3 any longer, I can change it to 4, 5, 6 without having to tear down that user and then rebuild that user. So think of it as extension numbers and users are compartmentalized from each other, but they're married together. Phone numbers are the next stop in our tour of CommUnity, where you will see I have a list of DIDs and where those DIDs are being directed to. In some cases, I have DID being pointed to a user. Some are going directly to IVRs. Some are also going directly to a site, so all inbound calls will ring all users at that site. So very easy to drill in and direct your DIDs where they need to go. Conferences. We also have traditional conference bridges that exist on the CommUnity platform. So I can create a room, associate that with a user, and I can establish a moderator pin, participant pin, things that you can do within a conference bridge from an administrative standpoint. Join before moderator, stay after moderator, etc. We also in CommUnity have the concept of licenses. So by default, not every feature is associated with a user. So say something like my advanced user license. That was the user type that I obtained through Sangoma, and that gives me my core telephony features. Now, voicemail transcription is something that is included in that advanced user from Sangoma, but it is an individual license in the UCaaS platform. So everyone gets one by default, but I can unassociate that with a user if I choose that user to not have this capability. Roles and permissions. Kind of along the lines of licenses, we have roles and permissions within the CommUnity system. So I have 4 tiers, if you will, today, starting out at 0, which is core basic human rights. Every single user on the system gets that, and I can edit what those roles and permissions are. I also have customer admin. So maybe this is the office manager or someone who's going to be making basic changes to the system. They get an administrative level 2. Then we have a customer senior admin. Maybe this is the IT manager who is going to be making significant changes into the system. They are a senior admin. And then maybe I have the CTO of the company can do everything under the sun. They are admin level 3. Now I can also create custom roles and permissions. Here I have built Q agent and Q supervisor roles and permissions, so I can further refine what Q agents and Q supervisors are able to do that is above and beyond the core basic human rights and the customer admin level. Speaking of call center, we also have some call center functionality within the CommUnity platform. So first, we have what we call real-time monitor, which is a KPI panel that's built out in the administrative portal that shows me things about my queues. We're actually have done significant development work to take this real-time monitor and bring it into the myHUD client. So a call center agent and call center supervisor can have one single pane of glass to view their soft client, make and take calls, chat, text, SMS, etc., but also see status of the queue. And we'll go into that here in a few moments. Within the call center, I can also manage my queues. So however I determine I want my ring strategies to be, this is where I can configure that. So you'll see here, I have a sales queue that I have pre-configured. The ring strategy is longest idle. So the agent in queue that has not gotten a phone call in the longest amount of time would get delivered to first. We also have autofill turned on. So in a ring strategy such as longest idle, in the event that multiple calls come in, we don't have to bounce from user to user to user. If 3 agents are available and 4 calls come in very short order, 3 of those calls get automatically allocated to the first 3 in the list of longest idle so those calls don't stack up in the queue. Fourth call will, however, be queued up. I also can establish queue priorities. So when I have a situation where I have members of various queues, the queues that that person is a member of would have a priority. So I want sales over support to always be a priority in that type of business. I can also define my wrap-up time, retry, etc. And of course, create a new queue. If I have queue recordings enabled on the system, I can also select queue recordings and see a list of those recordings. Inbound call routing. So the next stop in our tour is going to be the graphical IVR builder. So great capability for making something complex, which is auto attendance and IVRs, making that easy for the customer. So what this allows us to do is see a visual representation of how calls will flow through the system. So for a layperson to not have to wade through pages of nested DTMF-based auto attendance, we have created this visual representation. I merely go into edit mode and I can build these individual components that I then string together with these arrows. So say I wanted to build a transfer to a call queue. We'll use my sales queue, for instance. Transfer type is going to go to queue. Name is going to be Ross Sales Queue. Which pre-configured queue do I want to utilize? I select sales queue, and then I would save those changes. A component such as this would be created, and then I would just string the DTMF option on here over to the sales queue. And now when a person gets into the auto attendant, they select option 3, and that rings the sales queue. And then I, of course, save. We won't go into too much detail here, but CommUnity has an extensive reporting suite. So I can bring up a list of saved reports. Now, this is very similar to what we have in our dashboard. So once I create a saved report, I can then, of course, pin that to my dashboard. I can also schedule saved reports, as well as other things that people typically like in a reporting suite. Regular CDR, queue reports, agent reports, blended user agent reports, as well as an audit log for who's been making changes to the system. Settings. Settings are kind of generic things that I can set for my company. I have company preferences, which allow me to define things like star codes for feature invocation. I also have my myHUD settings. So while I don't have any in here today, I can create a myHUD setting, and what this allows me to do is for things that are configurable in the myHUD client that I may want to apply to all users, I would facilitate that here. So the query string for our myHUD client app launcher, I can configure that here, and then I can push those settings to all my CommUnity myHUD client users. Also, my security and compliance setting. How long do I want password registry to be? Do I want to remember username, remember password, inactivity session timeout? I can articulate here. Bulk upload. I can export a template, populate that template with user specific things such as first name, last name, email, desired extension in a spreadsheet, and upload that to the system to automatic creation, so I don't have to manually create users each time. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we have Active Directory and Active Directory Sync. I also have a help bubble here. So in the event that I need to learn things about the admin portal, merely click help. I can open up a support ticket. I have the number for our support desk. I can see the version of my application and other fun things about the system. I also have my individual user here where this is me logged in, shows my status. I can change my chat status, put a little personal note. I can also hide the chat capability And then I can do other things about manage my account, such as setting up my email address, my avatar, and fun things. So that wraps it up for this quick look into the community platform. Stay tuned for future videos.